Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Yay! Now, I want to do a quick disclaimer before we start. We are talking about classy drinking with geeks. Now, we're putting this out. We do not condone any type of underage drinking whatsoever. If you're listening to this with your kids and they're too young, slap them across the head and turn this one off and go on to the next one.
Or pour them a drink and make them pass out, whichever.
Yeah. With that being said, we do understand that a lot of people geek out over their fine alcohols, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. Microbrews and really expensive whiskey, I think, is a lot of it. I'm Dub. I'm here with Tyler. I'm here with Todd and Carrie. Carrie Shows. We love you so much. You were literally our first ever guest spot on the show, our first guest interview.
What an honor.
I'm so glad that you still come around because it's so much fun when you come on.
Oh, I love it when you guys have me on. It's always a blast and a half.
A blast and a half?
And a half for sure. At least 0.5 of a blast.
So now I want to get this out before we start. What we're going to be talking about is microbrews as far as your beers go. We're going to be talking about whiskey that's over $50 a bottle usually. Just some of the finer aspects of the culture of drinking, if that makes sense to everybody. So right off the top, what is the difference between what we're talking about, which is, drinking for that experience, and drinking to get drunk? And let's start with Tyler on this one, because I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Well,
the main difference to me is you only require one thing, and a high alcohol content. You drink to get drunk. There's only one thing that matters, and that's how much that alcohol gets in your system.
Then there's no experience to it.
Going out, there really isn't, other than maybe you get a couple cool stories that start with, well, there's one time we got a bottle of Jack, Other than that, it's you can get a lot more out of sitting down with friends and maybe making an experience out of the actual drinking, savoring something. Mm-hmm. Check this out. I found this way up on a shelf that had dust on it. Let's give it a go. Mm. Or you can just enhance your conversations for the night by, pouring a nice glass that everybody could sip on, and you don't have to choke it down, and it doesn't become a distraction,
What I really want to hit on real quick before I ask you guys is what you just said about, the collector, the hunt, if you will, thing with nicer alcohols. That is very much going back to, why do I consider this a geek pastime? It's like finding a comic book. It really, or finding a collectible that you've been looking for. It's just that's part of the experience.
It's like a quest. They just came out with
and a lot of it's going to be personalized too.
Yeah, 100%. Like the seasonal beers that come out. There's a couple fall beers that I just love, and I get like my friends, we call each other when they appear on the shelves. It's like, dude, Meyer has it. It's on an end cap. Get there now, because it's hard to get. It's fun. It's a friendship builder and a conversation starter, like Tyler said.
Yeah. What about you, Todd? What do you think is the difference?
There's a couple differences in my personal opinion. The first, of course, is price.
Yeah,
100%.
That Pabst Blue Ribbon, and you're done.
Can you what sound did that make again, Todd? What happens when you drink a Pabst Blue Ribbon? I think you might be doing it wrong.
If you're drinking like a good scotch, for example, generally speaking, you're going to be paying, $65 a bottle or up. And so you're not wanting to chug it. And it's completely different in the consumption.
Yeah. With
a good scotch, you're sipping to enjoy the flavor, the bouquet, the smoky after, whatever. It tends to, the differentiation is price and speed, quite frankly.
Yeah. That's actually really good. when my
Not wrong.
when my oldest son turned 21, I sat down and I had a talk with him, and I bought him a really good bottle of Macallan's 12, and just this is your nice bottle, and I said, here's the deal: you should always drink the highest you can afford if you're going to go out and drink. Otherwise, you're just wasting the experience. And to me, I got out of the Navy and I stopped drinking cheap alcohol, and it would be a lot more of a experience that I'd remember than just another night. And that's something I told my son, if you're going to drink, always buy the best you can afford.
Actually, that would be the third difference, is when you're drinking for the experience and not just to get drunk, you can remember the night.
Right.
Anything
worth doing is worth doing right.
So first thing I want to hit on is microbrews. Beers and more higher end beers. Now, I'm a beer lightweight. I drink 1 or 2 beers, and Todd brings me over really good beers, and I like it. But I want to hear what we're going to talk about. A couple things. First off, what makes a good beer versus a bad beer, and then we're going to talk about what is your favorite microbrew. So, I know there's IPAs, there's stouts, you guys can probably help me out on these, because I say I'm kind of an amateur as far as beer goes.
Orders.
Sakis, all that stuff. So we're going to let's do this a little bit one at a time. So what is the difference between a good and a bad beer? Let's start with Carrie on this one.
Sure thing.
Just I have this prepared. Mm-hmm.
This is why I got invited on. Grand Rapids, which is really, really close to where I live, won Beer City USA like a bunch of years in a row. And for me, it honestly, truly, not to be sentimental, but it created a good amount of industry around where I live, and it created jobs, and it created livelihoods, and little startup businesses became huge, and then you can find their beers all over the country now. So it's really kind of a cool cultural thing, I think. But microbrews, what makes a good beer, I think, is as much the craft and knowing what goes into it, and the descriptions and the names and just everything, like the whole experience of drinking a beer at a microbrew at the place,
at the bar itself.
Correct. And so that is kind of the fun thing for me. It's not just getting a Bud Light at a bar somewhere. I order a flight almost everywhere I go just to try
a flight. You said
a flight. So you get a bunch of little samples, and usually it's somewhere between 4 and 6 samples.
And they're it's a double shot,
4 ounces. Yeah, something like that.
Best way to find a new beer.
Exactly. And that's fun. So usually I'll order a flight and then try a couple, and then I will get a pint of whatever one was my favorite. So and then if the table does that in pre-COVID times, we could share and have a couple sips of each other's, and it's the event. I'm an IPA girl, specifically in the summertime. I like my IPAs. I don't like a super citrusy IPA. I like more of a piney, sort of ginny IPA, if that makes sense.
What makes an IPA, India Pale Ale? What makes an IPA?
The reason they call it an IPA is because when they were shipping the hops from India, the way they had to store them, and this is what I've read, I could be wrong, but the way they had to store them kind of created that fermentation, kind of piney taste. And then when they got to the country where they were going, they had a unique taste to them. So that's why they call it an India Pale Ale. Yeah. And then, so it just creates a very unique taste, and it's something I really like. It's super bitter, and I can totally understand why people hate IPAs too.
It's got kind of a little bitter back end to it.
It's an acquired taste. It's like getting used to drinking black coffee, for sure. But yeah, in the summer, mainly IPAs, and in the winter, mainly stouts. I like KBS. I like, there's a one Founders puts out called Backwoods Bastard that I really like. So yeah, just that's kind of me. It's seasonal.
Yeah.
I like a good amber in the fall.
Hell yeah.
Todd, what about you, bud? What's the difference between a good beer and a bad beer?
Price.
It matters.
So you like being told how much you're going to enjoy this?
No, it's entirely personal issue at this point. Like I said, at this point in my life, I'm one of the old farts of I Heart Geek, and so I've been around a little bit and drank a beer or two. And but in the middle of the summertime when I'm doing something, heavy construction with a buddy of mine, or moving stuff when it's a zillion degrees outside, I will drink that ice cold PBR and enjoy it. Absolutely.
Dude, yes. Yeah. You have to have I was just going to say, you have to have like a utility beer, if that makes sense. Like, yeah.
Around the house, because I have my son is, in his early 20s, and he has magically over the last couple of years decided that beer is actually delicious. So we go through it at pretty high speed here now. And we're drinking Modelo as a regular. It's not it's not a great beer, but it's a good utility beer.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you get up there in age, you kind of have to watch your calories. So light beers tend to be important. But it's an entirely personal thing as to the difference between a good beer and a great beer. There are great beers out there which everybody will say, oh yeah. Stone Brewery from San Diego. They make great beers.
Mm-hmm.
Really. There's a couple in town. We've got Hop Nuts Brewery. We got Big Dog's Draft House. We got a list of 49 microbreweries in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'll get back to that microbrewery thing in just a second. Let's hear Tyler. What's your difference between a good beer and a bad beer?
Well, it's all subjective because, like you said, it's acquired taste, like drinking black coffee. Some people spit it out. Me personally, the difference, a good beer, it will just, I'm not specific to just one style. I do enjoy IPAs, but then, there's certain IPAs that I can't choke down. There's some of them I will savor. I prefer a porter because of the sweetness and the chocolatey notes and everything. But a good beer, it's almost going to be distracting when you take a sip of it, and when it hits your tongue, the notes you get off of it. That's just somebody put some time and some love into that thing and perfected a recipe. And it's you got to stop and really appreciate all that went into it. And a bad beer to me is just, we call them camping beers. It's anything that you can take and just throw down because you wanted to catch a buzz, and stick your key in the side and have at it. Just and you don't care if somebody drank them all. A good beer, if there's only one left, people are fighting over it. You know what I mean? It's just, and it again, it's going to enhance the experience you're having with your friends, because you can sit there and talk about this thing you're drinking, and what are you getting out of it? I'm getting this. I'm getting this cherry and this vanilla. What do you get? I'm not getting that at all. Actually, I'm getting. It just gets real complex, and it becomes an experience all on its own.
Which does lead us to the question: how much of your beer experience is psychosomatic? Like, oh well, it has notes of this and this, and so you're like, yeah, I taste that.
Right.
Truth be told, a lot of people are missing a lot of everything.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. When I order my little flights, one thing I remember my friends gave me a hard time once because I wanted to keep the menu so I could look back at it while I was sipping, because I wanted to read and see like if I was anywhere close to tasting the right thing. But they're like, oh, okay, you gotta read the menu. I'm like, yeah, shut up.
It's like wine drinkers do it too.
I paid $12 for this flight. I'm gonna enjoy it.
And did you have your pinky up while you were drinking?
I did not have my pinky up. I gripped it like a freaking barbarian. No.
I'm sorry. This is why we keep putting you on the show, just because of comments like that.
Me personally though, one thing, because we go do the flights and everything too. We actually have some breweries close by that are pretty nationwide. It's like Cigar City Brewing in Tampa.
Oh yeah. I've heard of them.
We've gone there numerous times and toured it, and gotten there's array. And one thing we've noticed is you gotta stop with the fruiting of beer.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie, I like it.
100%.
Strawberry
Tyler.
shortcake beer.
That's a little
thank
much.
you.
I
Gross.
appreciated what went into it because it was a lager and it tasted like a lager. And when you swallowed, all of a sudden it hits you. Wait a minute. This literally
It
strawberry
tastes like rotten
shortcake.
flute.
That
No, it was
is
a strawberry.
gross.
It was like eating a dessert. I'm like, that's wild. I appreciate that part of it, but bro, really,
Tyler,
strawberry
I had one.
shortcake in a bottle. Come
I had one time. Like it's not fruit, but it was like close. There was like it was sweet potato pie porter. And it was out of a little brewery in Comstock Park near me called Perrin. Now hold on a second. Hold on. It was this really dark porter, very rich. And it didn't taste like a bite of sweet potato pie, but you could definitely taste like the hints of like brown sugar and like nutmeg a little bit.
Mhm.
And it came when he brought it to the table, he had on like a bamboo skewer, he had a marshmallow. And right there at the table, he goes with like one of those blow torches,
Mhm.
and he like lit it on fire and
Which
set
just
it
what
in
you
the
want with your
beer.
alcohol. Yeah.
It was so cool. But he lit it on fire and like set it, like balanced it in the beer, and he's like, enjoy. And it was just like flaming in the middle of the table, and I was just like, neat.
I'm in.
And actually the beer itself was very good, but the presentation just was a storyteller.
As far as those kind of beers, I don't know if you guys have had it. I know it's a standard at this point, but the half Guinness, half cider, those I really enjoy those. To me, it's a nice balance between the two. And I know Carrie's giving me the side eye right now,
but I had a black and tan once, and it was just not a fun time. So
hold on. A black and tan is not what he described.
I know it's not. I know, but it's similar. I don't mix Guinness with stuff. Guinness is Guinness, and cider is cider, and that's fine.
Are you an only on St. Patty's Day Guinness drinker?
Yeah, pretty much.
I
have my other porters for the other times, but yeah. I always make sure to have a Guinness on St. Patty's.
So let's hit this before we move off of beers. Let me hear your personal ideal beer experience, your beer scenario. You sit down somewhere, you have your beer, whichever beer it is you like. Tell me what your ultimate scenario is. Let's start with you on this one, Todd.
All right. Recently, there's a restaurant chain that's very popular in Las Vegas called the Yard House. You can actually get it. Yeah.
Excellent beer there.
Yards of beers, the big fluted glass that if you drink it wrong, the bubble end. Yes, it's a great thing. And recently we went there and I tried a new beer called Dragon's Milk.
Yes, out in New Holland, a Michigan brewery.
Yeah, it came and it was kind of a dark amber-ish color. I was like, okay, this has possibilities. We got our appetizers. I took the beer and I took a drink and I put the glass down and I went to grab an appetizer and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Took another little sip, looked at it while I, was experiencing the bouquet and the after and everything. And to me, that is revelatory of the beer experience. When you find a new one and it's so damn good that it just whops you upside the head and stops what you're doing and makes you think, yeah, a little bit more of that would be excellent right now.
What have I been doing with my life up to now?
I know. I'm so glad to finally meet you.
The wasted years.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, let's hear about your scenario, your ultimate beer drinking scenario.
My ultimate beer drinking scenario. I would have to say, because I do enjoy camping. I do enjoy being outdoors and stuff like that. And I have a lot of bucket list places to go. So it'd be something, finally getting to visit one of those places, maybe it'd be Moab, Utah or something like that. And finally just getting to stop and sit on top of one of these big old rocks and just look out. And of course, my wife would have to be there with me because we enjoy all this stuff together. And having my little cooler, and I got my perfect little companion porter with me, and just sitting there and not saying a word, just sipping on that beer and soaking it in. That's an ideal, ultimate
Nice.
experience for me.
Carrie,
Well-
what about you?
Not sure I can quite compete with Tyler's tableau he just my God.
You just got to feel guilty about it now.
Honestly, like my ideal beer experience is when it's a celebration, when you're out somewhere with friends, and obviously we all kind of long for that now more than ever. And getting, I think there's a unique joy and anticipation, like when you're out like for dinner with friends and the meal hasn't come yet and you're all just getting there and you're excited. And then the flight of beers comes. And my favorite thing is when it's a good variety of colors and it comes and it's just like a rainbow of beers in this little flight and just starting to sip and being with friends. And I think it's simple, but honestly, that's mine.
Nice.
Side note real quick, Todd, New Holland in Grand Rapids, it's such a cool place. If there's any way you can ever get there, it's in like a big old building, and they have like a big like iron metal cast dragon right when you come in the door, because Dragon's Milk is like their thing. And it's huge and awesome, and it was an art prize entry several years ago. So
I kind of learned the hard way with Dragon's Milk. It's an amazing experience, putting it past your teeth and everything. Don't drink too many.
No,
that's one of those higher alcohol contents.
It's like 9.5, man. It's like
you might as well start drinking whiskey soon.
There's also Dragon's Milk White, and I don't know if you can maybe get that.
They get dangerous,
but it's also very, very good.
Nice.
I'll have, but it's like two of them, and you're like, woohoo! The three of them, you're like,
three is not fun anymore.
I think that's part of why it took off like it did. Craft brew in the last decade. It's just massive because people. You can have that high alcohol content, and back in the day, if you found that, it was just garbage. It was so much alcohol heat on it. But they made it an art and made it real enjoyable to sit there and get a real good buzz on. And only one beer, and you disguise all that alcohol. It's just people sitting at these pubs got to make a lot of money that way, because the more that goes down, the more they're going to spend.
Oh yeah.
Now I agree with you that that's part of it, but I think that we're missing actually the most important thing that I think really launched the microbrews, and that was the Drew Carey show. That was a whole subplot. Buzz beer. I had never heard of a microbrew before that, and suddenly after that show came out, everybody knew what they were, and I think that's really opened a lot of people's eyes. Do you guys remember hearing about microbrews before that? I mean,
not really.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
kind pretty young.
Alcoholic, so yes.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, seeing that you could do it in your own garage,
Yeah,
I could see that. People get turned on to it, and it just exploded.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's. I'm going to split it up a little bit, and we're going to go to our listener feedback real quick.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
Okay, so for listener feedback today, I just couldn't make Carrie read these, so I'm going to read them. I hate reading these. This is how much I love you guys. I am reading the listener feedbacks today. Say that again?
Thank you for your sacrifice.
For me, it kind of is. I love y'all. This is really saying how much I love y'all. Okay, so let's start with from the show. Skeeter Thompson said, "I love me an old fashioned or a black opal, two very classy beverages, and you would look super cool when you make them. Ha. The black opal is the test drink. I make new bartenders make to see their skills, and a Long Island minus tequila." Add a Chambord. I don't know what that is. And it's simple and it's hard. Yeah. Okay.
Chambord is like an orange liqueur, I think.
Oh, so it's Tang. It's Tang in beer. Gotcha.
A little citrus.
Jonathan Cathcart said he really loves an old fashioned. And he likes a McKellen 12 years or older. I get that. Nicole Smith said, as a military family, a shot of Glenlivet on Memorial Day for our fallen soldiers from over the years. Otherwise, we make old fashions and chocolate martinis for everyone on Christmas. I think that's a fun little tradition.
It is. You can only have very few of those, though. That's
yeah.
Hurting.
From Kimberly Romine, she said, I'm going to go out. I love a Long Island iced tea or craft beer. At home, I love Moscow Mules because they're tasty and easy to make. I've been wanting to try one of these forever, and I've heard so much about them. That's just something that suddenly exploded over the last couple of years. But I don't go out.
You've never had a Moscow Mule, Dove?
I haven't. Okay. You sound disappointed in me, Carrie.
I'm very disappointed in you because it's like very, very easy to make, and you need to make yourself one.
Okay. I even have the brass cup or the mugs, so I need to do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do that this weekend. Okay, House of R said Scotch on the rocks because Ron Burgundy and Don Draper drink it, which does say a lot. There's something about the people that you kind of look up to as quote unquote classy on TV. You kind of emulate their drinks a lot, like James Bond with his martini shaken not stirred. That's a very famous drink because he made it classy. There's something cool about that. And let's do Jill's and then we'll sweet wines. They taste great with lots of different foods and it's very relaxing. Special dinner wine, rainy day wine, sitting at home with a good book wine. I get that. I wish I could drink wine. And finally, this is my last one, I promise. This is Satomi because she said I had to read hers. While playing at the pubs with Killian's Angels, an all-female Celtic rock band, she grew quite fond of Irish whiskeys, her favorite being Middleton. I got to cut this down a little bit. Other Irish whiskey favorites, there's Tullamore Dew, the Le Prague, when I'm feeling the need for peat. So I don't know those two particulars.
Tullamore Dew is very good.
But yeah, we had a metric poop ton of extra ones. But yeah, that's it for the listener feedback for today. Thank you all so much. So let's go back in and let's discuss real quick. We're going to go to our more classy mixed drinks / on the rocks, straight up expensive bottles of alcohol. And when I think, okay, well, I want to get a really nice bottle, the first thing I think of, I'm a Macallan guy. It's got to be at least 12 years old. I like the double cask. It does make a difference. But I really like a nice aged whiskey. I don't know, what is your guys' go-to single alcohol that you like? This is my go-to. Todd, what's yours?
Always whiskey.
Whiskey or scotch?
I'll drink either. It's a different experience, but my go-to single is whiskey, and I've found over the years that I prefer Irish whiskey.
Yeah,
for the price point, it's an outstanding drink.
What about you, Carrie?
I wish so much that I liked whiskey because it's really, really cool to like whiskey, but I like gin.
Gin? You don't look like you're 60.
I know. I know. I'm an old soul, but no, I've had so there's up north of where I live, we actually have a pretty decent wine country. And up in northern Michigan. And they also have a few distilleries up there. And one of the things they make up there, like kind of exclusively, is Traverse City gin. And it's exceptional. It's got like notes of like florals in it, and it's just like it's got that obviously quintessential like piney, ginny taste, but it's not like punchy in the mouth with it. It's very subtle, very smooth, and yeah, I like gin.
Nice.
Scotch. Gin is the only alcohol that I can honestly say, no matter how badly I've abused it, I have never had a hangover from gin. Ever.
See, there you go. See, she's a gentle lover, gin.
What about you, Tyler?
My go-to, I believe, will always be a sweet, smoky, smooth bourbon. Highly enjoyable. You can just relax with it and just end your week on a nice note.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can choose from on the bourbon market. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's something about, especially when you're in the bourbon, the whiskeys, just almost the mythology behind these drinks that I think is just really interesting. The more you study, how they're made. You can't have the E unless it was. Let's see, you can't have the E unless it's in a certain county, I believe, on the whiskey. Everything else is with the WHISKY. Yeah, like Irish whiskey, you'll look, there's no E on it. On anything that's out of Tennessee, it's got the E, and that's actually legally a difference.
I have seen that difference, but I never knew why. That's really interesting.
It's just like Scotch. It's not Scotch unless it's from Scotland, theoretically. It's not Scotch unless there's peat involved. Realistic.
Now, which one of you all knows the making process of Scotch? What does it mean to have peat? I have no idea.
Peat is a type of moss that typically grows in Scotland pretty much everywhere. And the flavoring process, they cook the peat. And the smoke that comes off of the peat gives the Scotch the smoky flavor.
Oh, okay. Huh.
And then the whiskey with the E, why it's so sweet is because it's made with the corn mash.
Oh, that's cool. All
And that's
cool things to know.
And that's why, the cowboy cocktail is so sweet and so easy and good. I mean, you don't make a cowboy cocktail out of, good whiskey. You do it out of crappy JD because it's nice and sweet and there's nothing wrong with it. That's your drink. That's your drink.
And it comes with a little umbrella.
Cowboy cocktails do not come with umbrellas.
They come with a tiny cowboy hat, you jerk. You don't even know.
It comes with chaps.
Comes with a tiny 6-shooter.
So now let's talk about these favorite alcohols. What makes the difference between a good one and a bad one, in your opinion? Let's start with Carrie. What is a good? I know you're going to talk gin. So what is a good gin versus a bad gin?
Again, I think a good gin, it has what makes gin, which is the juniper flavor, that piney kind of flavor, but it doesn't that's not all there is in a good gin. Often in a good gin, you'll also it's not a super good gin, but it's good-ish. Think Bombay. Bombay, you'll taste notes of anise, and you'll taste just all kinds of different things, florals going on in that gin. Whereas if you get my college gin of choice, 5 o'clock.
That sounds like you can get a bottle for about $4.
I will. It is not even on the second shelf up.
Oh wow!
So it's you got to get way down there. Anyway, 5 o'clock gin essentially tastes like you're drinking ethanol, and then also, hey, chew on some pine needles. That's that, and it feels different in your mouth. It feels oily, and it's just different. It's heavier or something. It's just strange.
Fair enough. And you would never know if you didn't have the good stuff.
100%. Once you've had the good stuff, it's you really know the bad stuff.
Oh, I have been drinking lighter fluid.
Yeah, well, is this butane?
Sweet.
I well, not my nail sweet. Polish. I think I could take off my nail polish with this.
Oh, we've all had a drink like that once or twice in our lives. Todd, what about you? What is the difference with a good whiskey? What's the difference between a good one and a bad one?
Well, Karen made a great point. It's shelf level.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason top shelf is a phrase.
The good stuff is on the top shelf, and the bottom shelf is yuck. Again, just like with beers, it's a personal experience. I know people that when it comes to whiskey, I mean, they guzzle that old granddad like it's going out of style. And that stuff, Jesus, you could pour it in the tank of your car and go for miles. But again, it's personal experience. A really good whiskey to me, when it hits your tongue, it doesn't slap you in the face. It gives your tongue a hug on the way by,
Yeah.
But like I said, some people have that experience with the cheapest swill you can think of. I like to think that I have some taste. So a good experience is just that. You put it in your mouth and you don't necessarily want to swallow it until you've gotten every last bit of that flavor that you possibly can.
And it's not a burn, it's a blanket.
Yes, it's a big comfy hug on the tongue.
That's fantastic. I'm going to use that from now on. Tyler, what about you? What's your difference with your bourbons?
For me personally, it's the heat you get off of it with the alcohol. A good bourbon's not gonna when you smell it in your glass, it's not gonna burn your nose hairs out. It's not gonna singe your taste buds. It's something nice and smooth that is people look at you and go, wow, this is dangerous, bro. That's a good bourbon to me. Some people go after that. I know some people who will drink moonshine that somebody's uncle made or whatever, and they love it. They will sit there and just
moonshine
sip it out of a jar, and that's fine, and I've done it too. But it's not my go-to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You gotta have that. You gotta have that smokiness, that mellow, kind of flavor. Like Todd said, gives your tongue a hug on the way down. And this is one thing that I noticed that price I don't think really dictates it as much. Because I have tasted some $200 bottles or $150 bottles, that it had a lot of heat to it. It had a lot of alcohol heat to it, and it really took away from a lot what flavor could have been there. And then I've had my go-to is like a $48 bottle of Woodford, and I love it. Not too much burn to it. It's got a lot of flavor, a lot of character, and I don't think this one area that price is really not going to dictate it, because companies can add certain things or whatever to disguise where they use subpar ingredients and everything.
Well, I was watching a documentary on the making of whiskey. It's on Hulu, I think, or Netflix. One of them. You'll find it. But they said that sometimes you can have a whiskey that has been aged for 80 years, and it will be the most incredible thing you've ever tasted. And one barrel over, at the same time, everything else, and it will taste like sewage. So when you're dealing with that older stuff, you don't really know, and that's why some people don't ever want to leave their Jack Daniels or whatever, because what you're going to get. It's always the exact same consistency. And I do understand if you're you got a blue label Johnny Walker, and that's your high end, awesome. But if you want to get a Glenlivet that's 50 years old, it might be fantastic. It might be terrible. And you're paying that much money no matter if it's good or bad. So you don't know.
Hey, rule here.
I'm a horrible person. So let's move on to our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
So for today's main event, we're not doing a top 5. We're just going to kind of discuss microbrews and just regular drinks that we think, if you're over 21, you should definitely try and have a wonderful experience with. We're not doing top 5, so we're just going to go around, and when we're done, we're done. So I want to, I guess, preemptively say I like girl drinks, so you're going to hear a lot of that from me. I love an appletini. I'm not going to lie. I don't care.
I like how also the only girl on the show today has been talking about gin and beer. And
I know.
Dub's over there like, I like girl drinks.
I'm not going to lie. I'm straight up.
You like what you like.
I do. I want to enjoy. Again, I want to enjoy my experience. If I don't like the taste of something, I'm not going to like it. But I think there's a balance to everything. But so let's kind of go around a little bit, and let's hear some of the drinks that you would recommend to people. Let's start, Todd.
Well, of course, early morning, first thing off, you've got
a Bloody Mary.
Coffee. Some good Irish whiskey. One plug in your coffee, it changes the entire Nice.
They call that prop comedy. Good job, Tyler.
To start the day off, it's exceptional. Another one is coffee liqueur, like Tia Maria.
Mm-hmm.
One little plug in your coffee, and oh, baby, that morning is completely changed.
Yeah, I can't do alcohol in the morning. It's just one of those things. That's just me personally. Say that again.
It's because you're a big girly man.
I'm okay with that.
How do
I'm
you
okay
get
with
through
that.
work?
I drive, so you guys should probably be glad that I don't.
There we go.
Okay, Carrie, give us a suggestion.
I mean, I gotta hate to keep harping on it, but I gotta recommend any beer you get in Michigan. You guys can find any Bell's beers, any Founders beers. I'm trying to think of another big brand that's from Michigan. Yeah, those are, I mean, phenomenal beers. We grow hops here, like in Michigan. It's apparently like ideal hop growing country. Who knew? Beers from Michigan are just better, man. Just better.
Fair enough.
Not just for breakfast anymore, too. So
not just for breakfast anymore.
Yes.
There is Founders puts out a beer called Breakfast Stout.
Oh wow.
And,
it's oatmeal, right? It's an oatmeal stout.
Yes, it's
How'd
a
I
winner.
guess?
Yeah.
Tyler, give us a suggestion.
Like I said, I live probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know why I look that way, like it's right over there. 2 hours away from Cigar City Brewing. They put out a beer called Maduro that I highly recommend. It's a dark beer. It's got some sweetness to it. Very good.
Very good. If you are in Vegas, I highly suggest Sin City Brewing. Not only for the great beer, but you buy the big old freaking glass stein with it, and it's a good collector's thing if you're visiting. But they have some very darn good beers. It's
exceptional amber.
Yeah, it's not sweet, but not bitter. It's got a very nice balance. It's someplace I'm very comfortable with. You can drink the whole stein and you're not bloated for a month. So Sin City Brewing, check them out. Todd, you got another? Give me another one, bud.
Well, in deference to Carrie's gin, which is always a good drink in a social situation, I prefer vodka martinis myself. And funny enough, a restaurant manager that my wife Tracy and I were familiar with here in town did a blind taste test for us. Brought out a tray with 2 sets of 4 vodkas in shot glasses, and he says we've got Absolute, we've got Cattell, Smirnoffs, and what was the other one? Goose.
Grey Goose.
Yeah. And he said, let me know which one you like. And both of us took sip. Well, we, knocked it back. But sips. Big sips. Yes. And both of us said, number 3. And it turned out it was Smirnoff's, the cheap one. So, again, it's a personal taste thing, but the manager told us like 90% of the people he's tried this with chose Smirnoff's just because the smoothness, the flavor, blah, blah, blah. When you're buying a drink like a vodka martini, you don't necessarily need to get the $18 martini because it's made with Grey Goose. Go with what makes you happy. It might be that $10 martini with Smirnoff's.
Nice. Carrie?
Yeah, I mean, I was just praising what Todd said about when you're going to be making a mixed drink. I think it's almost a sacrilege to make a mixed drink with a really good liquor. Like if you're going to Yes, exactly. Like if you're going to be making a mixed drink, make it with, I mean, from experience, don't use 5 o'clock. Don't use 5 o'clock. That's how they poison people in movies. But
and if you do, keep the open fire away.
100%. Yeah. Even the fumes. So, but seriously, like when you're making a mixed drink, make it with like a middle of the road vodka or gin or whatever. But then if you're just sipping that thing, then get yourself something a little nicer.
Fair enough. Tyler?
As far as mixed drinks go, I do recommend a well-made Moscow Mule, or my personal favorite, the Kentucky Mule, made with bourbon instead of vodka. Very good. If you get a high quality ginger beer to make it with, you'll get that snap of the ginger and everything. And and just a mid tier bourbon or something, or vodka, nothing crazy. And then you got that lime, and just it really nice on like a summer day and you're hanging outside, you're barbecuing or something. Make a nice tall one with a bunch of ice, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Good call.
Okay, so we're gonna do one more round of this. You guys can do what you want, but I want to actually give you something to stay away from, because someone suggested this to me and said, "This is the most wonderful thing. You've got to try this. This is outstanding." And it's peanut butter whiskey, and oh no, I don't understand the appeal. Whoever told me that, I have words for you, and I think I've said those words to you. It's terrible. Just don't. Peanut butter whiskey, bad.
We pass that around campfires, man.
Oh,
my recommendation is peanut butter whiskey.
Oh,
I have half a bottle of peanut butter whiskey in my house right now.
Yeah, it's not good. It's Todd, what do you got for your? You can either do a recommended or unrecommended this last round.
Each. Unrecommended is 100 proof peppermint schnapps. It's very sparkly on the tongue, and it's just a sugar bomb waiting to kill you. It's I used to carry a flask of it in my back pocket when we used to go skiing, because you jump on the lift and it's like it warms you up and it gives you fresh breath. But Lord Almighty, afterwards you feel like 10 kinds of poop. Now, one that I do recommend, but people usually give me a lot of guff for it, is Jägermeister.
Guff.
Right. It tastes like black licorice, which I have. My wife and I, in our 50s, are like the only people over the age of 19, evidently, who drink this. But it's yummy, and it's a quick way to make your nose numb.
Fair enough. Wow. Carrie, what about you?
I guess my mixed drink, I like a gimlet. Pretty straightforward. I can either have like a gimlet on the rocks, or sometimes I make a blended gimlet. I call it a Michigan winter.
And you say it right. It's not a gym.
No, it's not, because I'm not stupid. One thing I just can't get behind, and I try one every year, is a mint julep. I cannot drink a mint julep. Like, I tried Kentucky Derby, get your mint julep, and I've been to many Kentucky Derby parties. Here, we got mint juleps. I'm like, oh great. No. I try it and just can't do it, bro.
Just say nay.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Wah wah. Tyler, what do you got, bud?
Well, my last recommendation would probably have to be my go-to, my favorite on a Friday or Saturday night in a glass of ice would be Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. Not just the regular Woodford, but the Double Oaked. Oh, so good, so flavorful. You can just sit there sipping it for hours. What I don't recommend is hard seltzers. Stop. No more White Claws.
It's Zima.
No Trulies. Stop it. Just stop.
I as a person with boobs, I have to disagree with Tyler respectfully, of course.
And that's fine. My wife.
Well, maybe that's why I hate those things. I don't have boobs.
That's probably it.
Well, kinda. You're getting a little old there, Todd.
They might give them to you.
Oh. Womp wah. So that is the show for the day, guys. This is fun. Go do all our stuff. Carrie, where do people find you? Because you're awesome and people need to follow you. Like, not a stalkery way, but yeah.
Yeah, in a perfectly healthy way. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is @Carrie Schultens, all one word. I'm on a show called Dice Tales. It's on Twitch. We actually have a show coming up. Woo! Exactly. Our font is legally distinct from DuckTales and yet also very similar. We have a show next Saturday night at 7 p.m. on Twitch. You can find us at Dice Tales Live. I'm also on a show on Monday nights on Mini Terrain Domain on Twitch, where I play D&D, and I'm a human female barbarian. It's rad. You should join us there as well. We play at 8.
And the fact that she just said rad, I mean, come on. That's pretty cool right there.
There you go.
That's so Midwest. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't you know?
Don't you know? Gonna go play them Dungeons and Dragons with my friends.
So yeah, go do the stuff, do the liking and the commenting and all that other stuff. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Tyler and Todd and Carrie. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.